the name of the update is the Tricky Trials update.
Yup, the speculation is over, and honestly, I like it. And they have a good reason for going with it, too.
Tricky Trials. Well, Trials felt like, of course, we need to have that in the name, because this update is so much about the exciting adventures in the trial chambers. And then for the word tricky, I mean, it hints to that the trials, they are challenging in like a playful way. Then also, tricky hints to the more like tinkery side of this update. And, very important, Tricky really feels like this quirky Minecraft personality, and that is something we like a lot, of course.
This is interesting by itself, but it's also unique because it's the latest into a development cycle that they've decided to name an update. Almost all of the features have been announced. I say almost because hidden in the announcement is a huge reveal about what they'll be doing over the few weeks between now and release, as well as the surprise drop of 1.21 soundtrack, and just to give you a tiny spoiler, it is incredible. By the way, hello, I'm UpYaxToyCat, and subscribe if you're tricky, because today's announcement is a big one, or is it actually? Because it comes as all of the features have both been announced and shown and released to the public via previews and betas. Most people have seen or played with all of the features at this point, which makes the announcement very different to ones we've seen in the past. Previously, the update's name announcement would be a very big deal because it would set the scene for the entire update cycle, with the Nether update letting us know there'll be changes to the Nether, and the Aquatic update letting us know there'll be changes to the oceans. However, now we've seen all of the features come out under a vague theming, and the update title is more just a way to bundle it all together and for us to refer to it if we don't want to say 1.21. This is 1.21 either way though, and the great thing about today's announcement is it didn't just come as a name for the update, but also dropping the final features. We knew we were going to be getting some new music, but what we didn't know is just how great it was going to be. This is the brand new Minecraft 1.21 soundtrack, and there is a lot to talk about. But first things first, for those nostalgia heads in the audience, there are no songs in this by C418. Microsoft and C418 still can't come to an agreement about who should own the rights to the songs they make together, so instead, Microsoft has since been working with Lena Raine, famous for Pigstep, or Aaron Shiroff, famous for making Relic, or indeed Kumi Tanioka. They've all been making different songs for different Minecraft updates, but Minecraft 1.21 has songs from all three. So if you're like me and you like any modern Minecraft music, and I guarantee you like Other Side or Pigstep or Relic, or indeed some of the other Caves and Cliffs music, then you are in for a treat with this one. And although I haven't finished listening to the entire soundtrack, I've got a train journey I've got to go on just after this, I'm going to be listening to the entire thing. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I want to say that going through very briefly, there is one that jumps out, and it's because it's called Creator. It comes in two versions, Creator and Creator Music Box version, and doesn't this sound familiar to you? That is a very interesting choice, and that gets me so curious what they're planning with this, because if you're not familiar, that music box sound is something they've done before. Minecraft has these weird nonsense music discs, famously 13 and 11, but also 5 recently from 1.19. It is found in the ancient city, and midway through the nonsense is this. A random music box starts playing, and it doesn't really have much meaning because it's in between all these other weird sounds, but I think the fact that 5 is trying to link into 13 and 11, and then the fact that one of the songs from this is trying to link into there, means they really are building something bigger. I think this is a big divide between Minecraft fans, people who look at each update and say, oh, they just made one set of features, then they'll move on to something entirely unrelated, but there is meant to be a Minecraft master plan. Sometimes it really feels like it, and sometimes it really feels like it's not. But I think that seeing these little subtle under the surface hints says that someone somewhere is at least directing these changes to happen, which means that there should be some greater plan. Hopefully 1.19 does tie into 1.21. The ancient city and the trial chamber aren't as unlinked as you might otherwise think, which I think is beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, did you know that there is going to be a new music disc? You would if you've been following the latest news on this channel, but this is something we've been believing because Minecraft released a short trailer where there is Effie holding a music disc for a few brief seconds. It's a short little spoiler, but today they decided to do something that this very video's thumbnail attempted to do and explain all of the features in the Tricky Trials update, and tell me if you notice anything interesting.
Decorative copper, tough locks, the crafter, copper bulb, the breeze, trial chambers, trial spawner, the vault, the wind charge, whee! the bogged, armor trims, banner patterns, pottery shards, ominous trials, the mace, paintings, music discs, and stop the clock. Did you catch any of that?
I sure hope you did, because let's rewind just a second. Music discs, plural, and then this image on screen. This absolutely blew my mind because I was expecting a 1.21 disc announcement, which is actually a very cool thing. One new music disc seems to be a nice little thing they'll do for the bigger updates in the modern era of Minecraft. Just a reminder, there are 16 music discs total. 12 of those were in the game when it full released back in 2011, and ever since then we've had just 4 updates which were worthy of 1 music disc each. And so it's crazy to me that Minecraft have said, you know what, this update is worth free. And taking a closer look at them, the middle one here does look a lot like Relic or Pigstep, I would say, and so could be found anywhere in the game, but it's very clear that the other two, this one on the right is half aged copper and half unoxidized copper, and then the one on the left is fully oxidized copper. That to me tells me that they are almost certainly going to be found in the trial chambers. I would guess that all 3 are, just for the sake of perfect symmetry, which means that Minecraft is going to have a lot of collectibles tied up in this one structure. Seriously, this is the most fleshed out, or at least the most different things you can find from a single structure in Minecraft that they have ever gone with. There is not just these 3 discs and the new banner patterns and the new armor trims, but also there are the new pottery shards and the new most powerful weapon in Minecraft and all of the other fun little things which are just useful for a survival game. They want to make the trial chambers incredibly useful, and that is a very interesting decision. It's one that I guess we'll be able to see play out in the weeks and months after 1.21 comes out, but this is going to be the biggest structure yet, and so truly, I think that 1.21 is an update worthy of the name, except actually, is it? I want to take a few seconds to nitpick this title card for a second, because look how big that S looks. It genuinely looks like it's meant to be a 5, unless maybe this is the tricky Trial 5 update and we're missing out on something, but I think it is worth taking a few seconds here and saying that Mojang really has switched tack on how they're doing updates in a very major way over the last couple of years, in a way that really does seem like we've moved from a new phase of Minecraft updates. If you don't know, there was alpha, there was beta, and then it's generally accepted that there have been 3 eras of Minecraft after its full release. The first era was 1.1 to 1.8. These were updates which were just adding content that they felt like could go with Minecraft. Then there's 1.9 to 1.11, which is a update era where things were going a bit weird, partially because of the Microsoft acquisition. And then there is the modern era of Minecraft updates, which is generally 1.12 or 1.13 all the way to the current day. I think that we are entering a new phase where they have significantly revamped a number of major key parts of the game, and now they're focusing on having a major individual feature for each update. Sure, 1.21 is also going to be a great update just for anyone who has any copper or tuff lying around. There are all sorts of customization which doesn't rely around this one feature, because it's impossible to ever truly nail down a feature that way, but it does seem as though 1.19 and 1.20 were sort of aiming this way, and 1.21 has fully gone straight at it. Is this a good thing for the future? And more importantly, is the new way they're revealing it actually any good too? Because being in a new era is something that I think you can only really perfectly judge after the fact, but something we can judge right now is the fact that Minecraft have gotten away from, announcing features well ahead of time, like they previously did. We used to get the update theme and title as one of the earliest things, but now we get the very loosest of descriptions of an update. For example, 1.21 wasn't called the Tricky Trials update when it was first announced last year. Instead, we just had the vague theme of
combat adventures and on tinkering.
Which is great, but it also makes you wonder, did they have a different vision for the update back then than they did now? Or were they just willing to let things roll and see how that went? It's interesting because the tinkering side of this update hasn't really been mentioned much besides in today's video where they said this.
Tricky Trials. Well, Trials felt like, of course, we need to have that in the name because this update is so much about the exciting adventures in the trial chambers. And then for the word tricky, it hints to that the trials, they are challenging in like a playful way. Then also tricky hints to the more like tinkery side of this update. And, very important, Tricky really feels like this quirky Minecraft personality, and that is something we like a lot, of course.
I do actually agree with that, but as you can see, there are 3 definitions of the tricky part of this update, and only one of them has anything to do with tinkering. I do think that you could probably more broadly say that tinkering kind of changed along the way to mean customization. Again, the amount of customization that is unlocked from the trial chambers is intense, and it is a great way to tie the 2 parts of the update together, but I do think that is very interesting and maybe implies that Minecraft is giving themselves more breathing room, because imagine if they did call this the tinkering update really early on because they thought the trials was just going to be a small thing in the corner that wouldn't be focused on very much, then it might be very weird that the one major feature in this update is going to be that. But what I do think the Tricky Trials update does kind of subtly imply is that yes, there is one major feature around which everything else comes, because if we do look at every single feature again, you could either take those 20 seconds or you could just look at the thumbnail again. This is what I love to do. If we take a look at these, you can see that, wow, actually, almost every single one of these can be found in the trial chambers. A few of these, like the ominous bottles or the new tough bricks, could be found outside of them as well, but ultimately, the vast majority, outside of literally 2 of the features in this update, are focused on this one structure, and so that is going to be interesting to see. I think this is a great idea for an update, and honestly, it seems like it's specifically targeted at me. Actually, not specifically targeted at me, because...
And we also spent like a lot of time and effort in ensuring that it's really fun to play this update together with friends. So I hope that all of you that really enjoy playing together with others will have a very precious time doing so.
But everything else about this is specifically my jam. I love survival content, I love harder survival content, and I love survival content that gives you a really fun niche reward. That is precisely what the mace is. I am excited for the 1.21 update, Tricky Trials. My only question is the wider community going to be? And this is something we have to wait and see when it comes to. But yeah, I think that is, there's always going to be a vocal minority of people who hate an update, but are there going to be enough people who actively like it, as opposed to say, oh, that's kind of cool? That is the question Mojang is asking, and it's the question I guess I'm also curious about. Speaking of things I'm curious about, you might be curious to see my newest series. It is something that is starting tomorrow now. I'm going to be playing Ultra Flat Survival in Hardcore, so Flatland Survival, hard difficulty, 1 life in the new Bedrock difficulty, where we'll also have the game counter, but also I'm not going to have any bonus chest, any access to saplings. It's going to be just me and the flat land. This is possible because of the different biomes on Ultra Flat. It is the map that we made to make this even more fun, and so there is a jungle biome. We might be able to find some pandas. Pandas drop bamboo, and if we want to get saplings, which are later required for apples, we can just use the fox drop, because foxes have a 20% chance of holding something in their mouth. That has a 20% or about 5% chance of being an emerald, and so there is a 1 in 100 chance of having a fox spawn with an emerald. If we just kill 500 foxes, we can get an oak tree, and that is what I have to believe in. But yeah, I'm going to be farming a lot of bamboo. I'm going to be doing a lot of fun things starting tomorrow live on this channel. Looking forward to seeing you there, and for everything else that we do after 1.21. For now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've got a train ride to go on, and because of that, I made poor decisions wearing green in front of the green screen, but I hope you don't mind, because I'll see you next time. Bye!